because he is a 9-time Pro Bowler, a future first ballot Hall of Famer, part of now the worldwide leader in sports, Charles Woodson.
Rich,
how are you, Charles?
Man, I'm doing great, man. Doing great.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Now you had a heck of a first night on television in Canton, Ohio.
Yeah, it was, man. It threw us a curveball.
Now you need to work on painting the field a little bit better, Charles. What do you think?
Well, they didn't tell me early enough, man. So I had what I had, and I used it.
Yeah.
And obviously, it wasn't the right paint.
Yeah. You had it all set up.
I had it set up, but they rushed me.
Now look at you, man. You normally, as I told you when I first saw you, that normally when you because I know you're new to the TV game.
Yep.
When you do a pregame show.
Yeah.
There is usually a game after the pregame show.
Usually football.
So what was
Somebody
that?
didn't get the memo.
What was that like for you, that first night?
It was fun, man. I think the guys that we had, man, they just kind of fell into form.
Yeah.
And we just went to work.
Yeah.
Try to handle it like professionals.
And you, because I was on a plane coming back. I hadn't seen it, but you and Berman and Hasselbeck.
Berman, Hasselbeck, Randy Moss. We just went to work.
Now, how often have you been to Canton?
That's my first time.
Ever?
Yeah.
From
I never been
the state of Ohio.
Yep. Never been to the Hall of Fame before.
And
I didn't go then. I came there. I didn't go to the.
You didn't go in the museum?
Ceremony. I didn't do any of that.
Were you able to go in the museum this time? Have you gone in there?
No, I haven't. I've never been.
Wow.
Never been.
So are you going to wait for 5 years? Is that what you're saying
I'm
right now?
thinking since I didn't go when I was just there, I might as well just wait. I'll just wait it out, man.
Have you thought at all about playing? Have you thought at all in the last several months that you
golf? What are we talking about?
No,
here?
football.
No, at all.
Okay.
I have not thought about it.
Now I want to hit this with you.
Mm-hmm.
The moment you realized that you didn't want to play anymore, when was that, Charles?
That was November 22nd, 2015. It was the morning of the Detroit Lions game. I woke up and I knew I was done. That instant, I knew it was over. No more football.
Did you have a bad night's sleep? What happened there, Charles?
No, I actually had a great night's sleep. And it was a weird feeling. I woke up and I knew it.
In your hotel room?
My hotel room that morning, I woke up. We're in Detroit, and it's snowing out there. It snowed pretty good the night before. And I woke up and I looked out the window, and I said to myself, if they called my room right now and they said, you know what, it's snowing too bad, nobody can get to the stadium, the game's been called, I would have been perfectly fine with it.
So you just woke up and you just felt differently?
I felt different about the game. I didn't want to play football. It never happened at any other time in my life where I woke up on game day and not want to participate in the game. But that happened to me that morning. So I knew that year or last year was my last year playing the game.
So it took you a couple of weeks to make that announcement after that too, right?
Yeah. So I had to play football knowing in my mind that each week I really didn't want to be out there. I didn't want to hit, tackle.
Wow.
I didn't want to, I used to go in the morning and do a workout routine, whether it was arms or, I had these different injuries I had going on, and I would stretch and do those sorts of things. And that was part of my daily grind. And I knew, going into work, when I didn't want to do that daily grind anymore, I was done.
Did you call anybody and say, hey, I just woke up this morning and I thought I don't want to do this anymore?
Not that instant. Not that instant.
You kept it to yourself.
Yeah. But I told my wife when I got home that this was going to be it. And she didn't believe me because she'd been wanting me to retire the last 3 years. But she was like, I'll believe it. When football comes around again next year and you're not playing, then I'll believe it.
And it's remarkable. I've got Charles Woodson here on the Rich Eisen Show. That you're going to go into the Hall of Fame with Peyton Manning. Same
draft.
18
years together.
I'm wondering if we could look this up. Has there ever been a Hall of Fame class where a Heisman Trophy 1-2 finishers were in the same Hall of Fame class in Canton?
Little early morning trivia.
Let's look that up.
We have 6 years to confirm this fact.
Wow.
But just think about that. that in '97 you were 1-2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Woodson Manning, just in case people need to be reminded of the, of the finish.
Right.
And then last year, you picked him off twice, right? Last year?
Yep.
For the first time in your career, you picked him off.
First time.
And yet you still didn't want to play anymore.
No, done. That was it.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Because you had a final season last year, Charles, that was tops in the NFL, not just for tops in the NFL for people your age.
Yeah. The way it was going, if you would have asked me before that moment, about next year, I would have. Yeah, I'm playing 19.
You would have
for sure.
So what was it? Just injuries, banged up, something's going on.
I get asked that. What do I think it was? And I think I got tired. I think in that instant, man, my body had been through enough.
Mm-hmm.
Mentally, I've been through enough, and I was just tired, man. It was time. I knew it was time at that moment.
And
that would be it.
And in the state of Michigan, you had that moment too.
Right there in the state.
Think about that.
Can you believe that? Maybe that's what it was.
That you had come home.
Yeah.
You were back there,
back in Michigan.
Yeah.
And
so where it all started out, well, it started in the state of Ohio, but
right.
we can forget all that.
No, you can't forget about it. No, you can't do that.
Oh, you can't do.
Well, forget about my home.
No, well, you're going to your hometown, but you know how obviously you went to the school up north, and we've covered that before. It's your brother who is the one who is a Michigan fan, and you followed him.
Yep.
And then what about your time in Michigan? Where was it when you feel like you grew up? When you were at Michigan, is there a moment in time?
Well, I guess there were a lot of moments, but we, me and you talked last night, and I was kind of telling you about a story that,
Are you up for telling that story here?
Yeah. Sure. I can tell it.
Go ahead. I can tell it because I had not heard this one before. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Well, it was '96, and it was the week before the Michigan-Ohio State game. And, I got to practice. I wasn't feeling well. My back was a little tight, and I told the trainer, my back is not feeling right. He was like, oh, you know what? Don't worry about it. And he gave me some Advil or something, take this, don't worry about it. You don't have to practice today. I was like, great. But nobody relayed that message to Coach Carr. So, I come out to practice, and I walked out there, but I kept on everything I wore to school.
Mm-hmm.
To class that day.
Mm-hmm.
And Coach was like, what? Where's your jersey and your shoes? I was like, I'm not practicing, Man, get in there and put your uniform on. I was like, all right. I go in and put my uniform on. And so from that moment, I already knew the day wasn't going to go quite right. So, we're in practice, and he calls me over a couple of times.
Coach Carr.
Yeah. He was like, you're not paying attention. If you're going to be out here at practice and you're not practicing, you got to pay attention. I'm like, Coach, me and the guys, we might be laughing and joking or whatever, but we're watching the play.
Mm-hmm.
So he must have called me over there probably a total of 3 times. And the last time he called me over there, he said, hey, if you're not going to pay attention, then you can just leave. And I turned around, I walked out the field, walked into the locker room, put my clothes back on, I walked to the dorm. And I was like, man, I'm transferring. I'm out of here.
You walked out on Coach Carr and Michigan practice, Ohio State week, saying, I'm leaving.
I'm gone. Walked back to the dorm, thinking to myself, man, I'm leaving here, man. I don't got to deal with this. You know what I mean? So after practice, my a couple of my guys that we all took visits to Miami, to the Hurricanes, and we got, they're talking, we're talking. I'm like, man, let's just leave, man. Let's go to Miami. And everybody was game, man. They're like, let's go.
You're about to take your talents to South Beach.
I'm about to take my talents to South Beach, man. And so fast forward, like the next day, my position coach, Vance Bedford, he calls me down to Schembechler Hall. And it's like, listen, Coach Carr wants to talk to you. I need you to just go down there and apologize, and everything will be okay. And you're playing in the game on Saturday. I was like, yeah, that's cool, man, but I'm not apologizing. Like, Charles, I'm telling you, just go apologize. I'm like, all right. Walk down there, go into Coach Carr's office. He asked me a question. He's like, you think you justified yourself by walking off the field? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I don't think you had to make an example out of me. He was like, you know what? Well, you're not playing this week. And I got up. I said, all right. Walked back down. I walked back down to Vance Bedford's office, and he said, "Okay, what did he say?" I said, "Well, I'm not playing this week, Coach." He was like, "I told you, just go down there and just apologize." You know what? He picks up the phone. I don't know what he's doing.
Who he's calling?
Call Miss Woodson. I told this boy to go down there and apologize, and that's all he had to do. Here, you talk to him.
And your mom's on the
And
phone.
so my mom's on the phone, and this is '96. There's no cell phone, so he luckily caught my mom at home at that moment. And so I'm talking to my mom. She was like, "What's the problem?" I'm like, my coach wants me to go down there and apologize. I'm like, I'm not apologizing. She was like, "Charles," she said, I understand. I know you're mad and you're angry. She said, "If you're not going to apologize for yourself, then do it for me."
Oh, boy.
Oh, the old guilt trip. Nice.
Come on, man. So I said, "Okay." I get up, I go down.
Did it for Mom.
I did it for Mom, man. Apologized to Coach. He said, "Well, you know what? Good, Charles. You're playing this week."
And how'd you do against Ohio State?
We won. I mean,
And you were fine with Coach Carr after that?
fine after that, man. We met later on that the following year, and he just looked at me one day. We met up in the hallway. He said, "You know what, son? You're growing up." And that was all he said.
And you turned the corner from there.
That was it, man. And then we went on to win the championship that next year.
Charles Woodson here in the Rich Eisen Show studio. When we come back, I want to talk about what you're doing here this weekend, golf, the Cowboys. There's lots going on right now in the National Football League. And want to talk to you about your future, as well as these wines that you have here on the table.
Yeah,
he has
Charles Woodson
brought not
wine.
one, but 2 bottles of beautiful Cabernet. This is not...
What you don't know, Rich, is that Charles and I talked yesterday.
No, this is not you
He's
paying
a
off the
joint
sports
partnership.
drinks. No.
And we're paying off the sports drink bet.
Oh,
Is it a
man.
coincidence that there's 2?
How about this? I've come up with a plan that we can work this all out.
This is great.
Figure it out.
People helping people.
It's here. The wine is here.
The wine is here.
The wine is here.
Not a
It's
coincidence.
right around the proper price point.
This is what I'm saying.
Because I needed a triple-digit sports drink. That's what we call.
Triple-
We call it daddy juice or mama juice in our house with our 3 kids.
Yep.
But this is the 24 wines. Charles Woodson's fantastic wine. This is as good as it gets.
Yep.
The vintner, Charles Woodson, here on the Rich Eisen Show. When we come back,
CharlesWoodsonWines.com.
there you go, CharlesWoodsonWines.com. Don't go anywhere. We are back with Charles Woodson, Blue Know It, with Sean McDonough still to follow.
Ooh, know it.
Here on the Rich Eisen Show. Did you see the new Jumpman, Eunice? Have you seen them? Yeah, let's take a look. Let's stroll. There we go.
It's a beautiful thing.
With the Nike now and the Jumpman.
Jumpman.
How about seeing Jordan's Jumpman on a Michigan jersey, Charles? Isn't that?
Dude, it just fits.
Is a basketball
just
logo
fits.
odd on a football jersey or no?
But that's what everybody keeps talking about. It's a basketball logo. No, man, it's Jordan. It's greatness.
You're
a Jordan
We just
guy.
added more greatness to an already great uniform.
Right, Charles, you've been a Jordan guy for a long time. Were you consulted on the jerseys?
I wasn't consulted on the jerseys. No, I was not consulted. Should have been, right?
That's what I'm saying. That's where I was going.
If it's okay, though, I didn't consult you on the jersey that Michigan made up for me of the Jumpman. Check it out. Is that okay?
Wow.
Is that all right? That it's
You know what's interesting about that?
Yeah. Is that all right?
Is I got a Michigan jersey with the Jumpman on there. And guess what number I got? Not 2.
What?
They gave me a jersey with a 1 on it, which is okay.
But that's.
But come on, man.
That's not it.
Come on, man. Why wouldn't I get a 2 jersey?
Now, maybe because they
gave it to
give it to me. I mean, if you want it, Charles. I mean,
Would you give it to? Would you actually give it?
Well,
to
I mean, don't you normally? Isn't it one of those things? Normally, when you get one of these, you got to pay.
Wow.
Don't you normally have to pay for this?
Nice, Rich, nice.
You know, you got to do that. Right?
I didn't expect that out of you.
Man brings you
did
2
not.
bottles of wine.
I did not. Think about that. I just brought these beautiful
No, I know.
bottles of wine.
No, I
Then
know.
I got to pay for the jersey.
No, well, look, I would say you've earned the 2.
Look, I even poured my tea into a Rich Eisen coffee cup.
Yep.
And all of
Well,
a
you
sudden,
can have the mug. You have the mug.
Oh, thank. You know what? I am going to take it too.
All right.
right, you can have the 2 back. I can't believe they gave you 1.
Give me a 1, man.
They give you Braylon's numbers, Anthony.
It's somebody else's number.
Yeah.
Yeah. To put it plainly.
Put it plainly.
It wasn't the deuce.
Wasn't the deuce.
Wasn't
We
the
got to work on that. Charles
Yeah.
Woodson is here. There it is. Running
man.
right by Ohio State on that day.
There we go.
Back with more in a moment.
Welcome back to the Rich Eisen Show. Nice little UB40 red wine.
Oh, yeah.
Charles Woodson's Vineyard. Charles Woodson's 24 wines. Now, this is based on you being a Raider back in the day. You're drafted, and they have training camp in Napa for crying out loud.
Of all places.
And that's how you got hooked on being a vintner?
That's how I got hooked.
Well, you know, the line that they say is, you know how to make a small fortune is you go in the wine business with a big fortune.
Yeah.
That's the long line. That's the long-standing line about it.
That's the truest thing you ever said.
Have you never heard that one before?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the line. But so how are you faring with this whole thing? Because this is great juice that you're making right now.
You know
Charles.
what? It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of hard work. But the greatest part about it at this point about the wine is that when we first started, it was Charles Woodson, the football player, has a wine. You know, so it was more so about me than it was the wine. That's since flipped since then, and now it's about the wine. And you also played football, and that's what we were trying to do. We very proud of what we've done, and now the juice speaks for itself.
And so Brockman, here's the answer here, because if you're trying to get out of paying off your bet.
Well, you don't know that Charles and I didn't talk before and set this up.
There's no chance.
Well, you don't know.
There's no chance.
We're playing poker here. You have no idea.
Oh, I call you. I flat call you on that one.
All right.
That's
well.
you might have. All right.
He
right, Charles.
ran a covert operation on you, man.
All right, Charles. Spill the beans. I mean,
Except there are no beans to spill.
No beans.
I've never talked to this man once in my life.
Well, actually there is, because you brought up the Tuck rule game to him last time he was on our podcast.
I didn't bring it up. You brought up that I was a Pats fan, and Charles cold looked at me and goes, "Well, why is he sitting here?"
Have you ever talked to Brady about that moment?
Man, we've never sat down and talked about it. Not once.
2 greatest players with all due respect to Desmond.
Yeah.
And we'll throw Desmond in there too. But in
never,
Michigan history, meeting in the backfield of an epic playoff moment in the history of the National Football League.
never talked about it.
Once.
I figure one day maybe, over a bottle of
24
Charles Woodson
wines.
wines.
Yeah.
We'll drink a little bit and start feeling good. You know how things start to flow once you drink a little bit.
Well,
maybe we'll get into it.
Well, what do you think the truth? It makes you sound like there'll be some truth serum in this.
Oh
stuff right
man,
here.
there's a little bit in there. Yeah, it'll come out.
Meaning what? That he had no intention of throwing that football? Is that what you're saying, Charles?
Well, what I would say is that he thought it was a fumble. I mean, that everybody thought it was a fumble. If you think about it, was anybody protesting at the time that it was a forward pass? No. There was nobody on the sideline like, no, his arm was going. Nobody did that.
Nope.
The game was over. Period. Point blank. The game was over. Until the referee decided, let's take a look at it. What are we looking at? It's a fumble.
So have you ever told Tom that you think that everything that's happened in his life and his career?
I said that on air. Yeah, I said that on air, man. I mean, that kind of started everything rolling, man.
He owes
that play, man.
He owes Giselle to the Tuck rule. Is that what you're saying right now?
Everything followed that, man. Everything, man. Everything.
His house.
Yeah, man. We started something back then.
So Charles Woodson here in the Rich Eisen Show studio. We'll get to the wines in a second and how we're going to pay all this thing off. Jared Goff, how much of him do you think we're going to see on the Worldwide Leader on Saturday night? What are you expecting from Goff when we see him in the Coliseum on Saturday?
Well, what I expect from any young quarterback, some growing pains. How much of them we're going to see, I don't know. But I think getting to this level and the Rams coming back, here to L.A. and there being football here and the fans here are ready for that, be a little nervous. A little nervous. So I think this first one will be kind of rocky.
Do you think he's got the skills that's required of a
Well, I
number one
certainly
overall
hope
pick?
so.
Right.
They hope so. But yeah, I mean, he absolutely has the skills. But the one thing you have to do as a player is you gotta transfer what you did at the college level to the professional level. And you can't let the game get bigger than you are or bigger than it is. You know what I'm saying?
No, so how did you deal with that?
You know what? My first practice, I went out and I played. We went out. We had one-on-one drills, and I was going against Tim Brown. And Tim Brown must have ran like a triple move or something crazy. Mm-hmm. And I remember right at that moment, I said, you know what? I can play in this league. I said, I felt like he had to pull everything out of his toolbox to beat me. But in that moment of getting beat, I felt like I belonged there.
And so on the other side, you've got Tony Romo's coming back from yet another injury. Mm-hmm. And you were saying, here you were, what, age 39 last year?
39, yeah.
39.
Yeah.
You woke up on November 22nd in a Detroit hotel room, said, that's it, I'm done. What do you think is going through Romo's mind, coming back from yet another injury with a closing window of opportunity for the Dallas Cowboys this season? What do you think is going through his head, Charles?
Man, well, I know he's thinking about that shoulder because I've had that same injury. You know, I broke my collarbone.
In the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And then a year later, I broke it again in St. Louis. You know, so I know he's I think he put a plate in his shoulder though, right?
Yes.
So you know he'll think about that every time he gets hit and he falls. He'll be questioning whether or not that shoulder is going to hold up. But his I know his focus is on, man, I really want to get through this season to see, you know, what our team could be if I make it the whole way. Because they, you know, getting Ezekiel Elliott, I think is a big deal for them. They still got Witten, and their offensive line is one of the best, you know, in the NFL. And having those two guys, you know, the tight end and the running back, that's a quarterback's best friend. So those guys will be able to help him out, you know, throughout the game and holding on to the ball, running down the clock, which is going to be major for him. So he doesn't feel like he has to put the game on his shoulders all the time.
And he's got Dez there too. Who's the best receiver in the game? Who was the toughest one for you last several years?
Man, well, I think I had to go with Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown.
That's everyone. Everyone keeps saying that.
I think I have to say that because we played them last year and he put up something like almost 300 yards, or maybe he had 300 yards. It's a crazy stat, but we had no answer for him. But yeah, I had to go with Antonio. Man, he's a monster.
Who do you think's going to win the Super Bowl this year?
The Oakland Raiders.
Nice. Well, what do you think?
Raiders.
Well, the bandwagon's full with them right now, Charles.
Yeah. I was on it first, so everybody else had to get on.
Is Derek Carr he's the real deal?
Yeah, Derek's the real deal. Derek's a natural-born leader, and you know this is his third year in the game. He's continued to grow every year, and I think he'll do the same this year. So,
did they make the playoffs this year?
Absolutely. I think without question, they make the playoffs this year. Now, what they do when they get there, you know, that remains to be seen, but they will be in the playoffs.
Will a defensive player ever win the Heisman Trophy again?
Man.
Would you even consider yourself a defensive player winning the Heisman that year? Because you played.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you played both sides.
Yeah,
of the ball,
I played
Charles.
both sides, but I didn't play a whole lot of offense. You know, I played in spots. Mm-hmm. You know, when we needed to play, they threw me out there, and I went out there and made plays. But it wasn't a lot.
Do you really think the Raiders are going to win the Super Bowl this year?
You heard it here first.
Okay. You heard it here first. Quickly, let's button up some of the business that we've unpacked with Charles Woodson sitting here as McDonough's calling in a moment.
No 1-2s in the same class, but Doak Walker won the Heisman
Trophy
in 1948. Winners. Paul Hornung won it in 56. They both went into the Hall together in 86. There's one other pair. Roger Staubach won the Heisman in 1963.
OJ.
Juice won it in 68. They both went in together in 1985. Doak Walker, though, third in his Heisman class was Chuck Bednarik, and sixth was Norm Van Brocklin. So two other Hall of Famers in his Heisman class. Troy Aikman was third to Barry Sanders in 1988.
No Heisman 1-2 finishers from one year in college football have ever gone in the Pro Football Hall of Fame together in the same class.
Not that our research here on the Rich Eisen show has detected.
That is happening.
And played 18 years.
Unbelievable.
How about that?
Unbelievable. Yeah, and both be first ballot Hall of Famers, too. Think about that.
Yeah, that's
going to be
that's a crazy stat of the day.
Unbelievable. And then before you go, here's the way we're going to work this, Brockman. Because at this Pro Football Hall of Fame weekend, you thought Harrison was going to go less than 10 minutes.
Yep.
You thought that Favre was going to go less than 33 minutes. And then you owed me beautiful bottles of sports drink, as we call it.
Yep.
So you can get these two and pay it off if you give $200 to Mott's Children's Hospital in Ann Arbor on behalf of Charles Woodson, because that is what he does.
He couldn't turn that down.
Done.
Done.
Done and done.
You give the money to the Children's Hospital,
Correct.
including whatever GoFundMe dollars that you raised on your behalf too. Okay, that gets passed along as well. Correct, Chris?
However, Charles has to admit that it was not a fumble.
Don't
and
even
that
do
the
that.
tuck rule was appropriately applied in that situation. I'm just kidding.
Fired. Get him out of here.
Blue note.
Get him out of here.
Charles, congrats on the being part of the paparazzi with, by the way, fellow class of 98ers, Hasselbeck, Moss, and you're with Dilfer too. Say hi to him and Boomer.
Yep, will do.
All those guys who are here this weekend. You'll be there on the pregame prior to ESPN covering the Cowboys and Rams with 7 p.m. Eastern on Saturday night. Good to see you. Good luck, Charles. Okay.
Great to see you, Rich.
Come back.
Appreciate it.
Come back.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.